Hello and welcome back to the Kendall Mountain YouTube channel. This week for our Throwback Thursday we are featuring the amazing Renee McGregor, who's going to be telling us all about nutrition and her expertise in ultra running. I hope you learned something from this video because I know that I certainly did. Enjoy!
Our next guest is Renee McGregor, and she is one of the most renowned and respected sports dietitians in the country, having worked with both amateur and elite athletes. She is a go-to expert for relative energy deficiency in sport, otherwise known as RED-S, eating disorders, female athletes, and is the author of a host of books on fueling and training, orthorexia, and her latest book is amazing. It's called More Fuel You, Understanding Your Body and How to Fuel Adventures. So please put your hands together for Renee McGregor. What an intro.
I know. I'll pay you later.
Renee, the work that you do day to day, you are so respected for it and work with a host of different people. Can you kind of describe your day-to-day job? What do you love most about it?
So I'd say no 2 days are the same. I do still very much love being a practitioner, so I make sure that I'm always got contact with athletes. So fundamentally, sort of 2-3 days a week will always be clinic-based. And I work, as you said, with a range of athletes. And it's changed over the years. When I first started my career in sports nutrition, it was very performance-orientated. And I soon discovered that having had a clinical background, and my clinical background was also in dietetics, but I very much was involved in adolescent eating disorders. Moving into sport, I started to see that it wasn't always that healthy, and more athletes were definitely being impacted by that very expectation and the pressure and not looked after. And I saw there was an opportunity there to really help individuals. So I never set out to be an expert in eating disorders in sport or RED-S. That was never kind of intended, but I think I had a head start because I'd worked in eating disorders for such a long time. I knew it inside out, and then I suddenly was like, oh, I can bridge this gap between sports nutrition and eating disorders and the clinical aspect of it. So now I'd say over 50% of my work is working with athletes who have a dysfunctional relationship with food and exercise. And it's very much wanting to help them to go back to their sport more resilient and robust, both physically and mentally. Like listening to Chris and Lauren, like I was getting goosebumps because I really hope that message gets out to more young athletes. You know, there's some pretty dire stats if you look at England athletics, like the stats they put out a few years ago was only 54% of juniors make it to senior level because of overtraining and over-competing. So for me, those are the things that I'm really passionate about getting out there. So as well as the clinical work I do, I also write books. I always get involved with campaigns I can. I try and do as much as I can to raise the awareness of eating disorders. Obviously, I really want people to enjoy participation in sport and it not just always be about performance. So yeah, every day is different. I do a lot of supervisory roles as well now. So I've got my own team of practitioners that now work for me. So there's always someone that needs some support and help. But also I'm really open, like anybody who will contact me and say, we've got this problem, could you be involved? Then of course I will. And yeah, I get amazing opportunities. I'm in a very fortunate position. You know, I work with England National Ballet. I work with a lot of brands like North Face, like Asics. You know, I'm very, very lucky from that point of view. But it's not been simple. It's been a very long, kind of hard work, arduous journey to get here.
Excellent. Okay, I've very much enjoyed your latest book, More Fuel You, and you kind of preach, if that's the word, it probably isn't the word, but a very balanced, holistic, sensible approach to eating. I wanted to ask you about some of the diets that
we're all surrounded by on social media and in other media as well. I made a little list, about half of which of these I have actually tried, and you can nod along knowingly if you've had a go at any of these. The carnivore diet, not tried that one. The paleo diet, calorie deficit, no sugar, low carb, intermittent fasting, and the 5-2 diet. So those are just a few off the top of my head.
Surely I'm not the only one. I was the only one putting my hand up there.
The only honest one, perhaps, yeah. What's your take on why diets like that are so prevalent, and how effective can they be?
Oh, how long have you got?
14 minutes.
Okay. I'll be quick. I think the problem is that for so long, we've had this message bandied around move more, eat less. And it's become very much the mantra of Western society. But I think alongside that, there's also this kind of, I suppose, aspiration to get it right. And we have so much tech, and we have so much information out there, of which most of it is wrong. And I think, again, we can't move away from the fact we live in a society where we're all constantly trying to prove ourselves, we're all constantly trying to fit in, we're all constantly trying to conform. And I think this is why, like, diets come and go. They're all the ones you've discussed, they're all based on the principle of basically not eating enough. And do they work? No. Because if diets worked, then the diet industry wouldn't be actually quite as successful as it is, because the reason why diet industry works is because people get hooked and have to keep going back. And if you look at physiology, like human physiology, actually we are hardwired to want to achieve energy balance. So if you put us in a big deficit, yeah, temporarily you might see a few results and you might think, oh, this is working for me. Great, I'm feeling brilliant. And then it's not sustainable, or your body can't sustain it, which is a thing I see obviously in athletes, is that initially they'll try these trends, they'll get one great performance and attribute that to the diet. And actually, it probably is a combination of lots of different things. But then, as soon as the body's in a big deficit, it will go into compensatory behaviors, and it's not sustainable, and the wheels fall off. But sometimes the athlete, particularly the kind of athlete mindset, will look at, yeah, but I did really well when I was doing that, and not maybe see that as a negative and almost like, I need to go harder, I need to push more, I need to remove even more from my diet. And that's kind of what, I suppose, drew me to working in this industry. And it's really hard to challenge the noise out there. And I have a real love-hate relationship with social media, but I feel like I have to be there, because sometimes I feel like there's no one else challenging that perception that there's only one way. And I think that's the other thing, is that there is no one way to eat. We're all different. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have different upbringing. Food is different for all of us in how it was first introduced into our lives. So saying that there's one size fits all is the same as saying we should all look the same. And if you look around the room, we don't.
Wow, like you hit the truth bomb hard. That's what I love about you. What would you identify? I mean, I know this is like just an open question, we could be here all night, but what are the main pitfalls that the average runner falls into with nutrition?
Underfueling.
Underfueling.
Yeah, significant. I would say that time and time again. Underfueling because they focus on weight over performance. Like, I get that there's this constant message that lighter makes you faster. It might do if you need to go lighter. But if you don't, if your body is already where it needs to be, and there's no set for this, like that's not saying you have to be a specific BMI or a specific weight range, but if your body is where it needs to be for you, going any lower is actually going to be more disadvantageous to your performance than positive. So for me, it's the underfueling and the lack of carbs is what I see and I work on with athletes again and again and again.
So are you telling me that the tin of Quality Street that's in the boot of my car is totally acceptable to be eating that before my race tomorrow?
In moderation.
That wasn't the answer you wanted. Was it?
No!
Well, I hope you enjoyed that chat with Renee, because I certainly learned quite a few bits there. If you want to learn more from Renee, you can check out her book, More Fuel You, where I will pop a link in the description below. Additionally, you can also check out the Kendal Mountain Player, where we have over 400 different films and collections to choose from, and you can catch the full running session there. Check it out in the link in the description below.